Hi, it's Doug. Today, let's talk about taking up space. I'm not talking about outer space, I'm talking about office space. I'm bringing this to you today because it came up in a conversation with one of my private coaching clients named Jim. And he's in a situation in his office he shares with another attorney. And the landlord is going to do a lot of renovation and they want to move him around and have him sign a 5-year lease. And he's uncomfortable with a 5-year lease, I think for good reason, especially with everything changing in real estate and how customers are behaving and whether he wants to carry all that overhead. So we started talking about what kind of options he might have to have an office presence and have it make sense for him because he has some needs. He needs to have a place for clients to come for meetings. He needs a conference space. He might need a space for an assistant or paralegal to work for him. He doesn't necessarily need a space for him to work. He's got a perfectly functional home office. But he needs to have some sort of office presence. So here are the options that he looked at. Maybe this is in service to you. The most traditional one is to go out and look for leasing an office. He wanted to be closer to his house. It wasn't as important for him to be downtown. So he looked at office spaces and found some nice office spaces near his house that would have a conference room and a couple of offices. They also wanted 5-year leases, and the rates were somewhere between $17 and $20 a foot. And he's paying a lot, would be paying a lot for space that he might not use. And since his former office share attorney probably didn't want to go with him, he was going to have to carry that all by himself. And he was nervous about doing that because where he needed to spend his money right now isn't necessarily on office space, but it was on having a good assistant that could help him save time, and they didn't need to be in the same space anymore. So we thought about different options for him. We thought about an office share, maybe with another law firm. He wasn't that comfortable with that, but he did think, I get a lot of referrals from accountants and some from financial advisors. Maybe they have office space. An interesting idea, cohabitate with an accounting firm or a financial advisor. Maybe they have some administrative support that could be helpful for him, or maybe we go out and look for a virtual support, either at a specific legal outsourcing virtual assistant or just a generic virtual assistant. I suggested you go look at his Chamber of Commerce because maybe they know of other office share spaces available to him. The value for him in this conversation was really thinking about a couple of things. One, he wasn't going to be forced to stay where he was because one of his issues was the distraction of having to move twice. Move while the construction was happening, be disrupted during the construction, and then go back into an office and be stuck with a 5-year lease. It was taking down a lease on a building and then having that financial pressure. It was having a space and an address for clients and Google to find him because he got a lot of business off of Google and he needed a discrete address. A discrete address. In addition, he needed a street address too. So thinking about what to do was helpful, but it wasn't as helpful as getting on the phone and making the phone calls and picking up the phone and talking to the accountant or the financial advisor. And if they didn't have a space, ask them, did they know somebody who had a space? You see, in 2020, going into 2021, the whole game has changed for lawyers and business professionals on office space. I'd suggest that it's the rare client who cares a lot about a fancy address and a high-rise tower. They probably don't want to pay for it. That the location proximate to court might be really important if you're always going to court, but the whole downtown dynamic has changed. And as a tenant, you have a lot more options than you had before. So within a couple of weeks, my client's going to be able to evaluate these options and we figure out what he's going to have to do, including looking for straight up subleases of offices, because a lot of people have space available. Now, the corollary to this was, what about the assistant? What does he need the assistant to do, and do they need to be physically present? I thought this was going to be a big deal for him, but it's really not, because over the last 6 months, he's figured out how to work virtually with his assistant. Now, he might have to find a new one, and that's another topic. I've been working with a lot of solo practitioners and small firms who are having to retool and get new people in. And there are people out there looking for work. And it's painful to do it, but when you do it, it's so much better on the other side. So I'll do another video on that one separately. So if you're sitting there looking around wondering why you're paying for all the space and what other options there are, think creatively. What about an office share? What about a sublease? What about cohabitating with somebody who's a good referral source for you? And what do your clients really need from your real estate? And although the landlords will pressure you, this is not a landlord's market. I'd suggest signing up for a 5-year lease right now. That's placing your chips on something you may or may not need. So be careful with your real estate investment. It's a significant fixed cost that once you're in, and you lose a fair amount of flexibility. So that's my thought on taking up space for today. Until next time, bye for now.